Welcome to Cruncham Hall this afternoon on BBC One. Roald Dahl's film fantasy Matilda at 2:45. Catch up with Christmas for EastEnders in 15 minutes after the news.
Let the kissing commence.
Match famous faces with their real other halves.
Do you know that's the sexiest relay he's ever run?
Join Dale for a taste of celebrity glamour at home with the stars.
Do we win a prize for this?
I'll come and tell your allotment.
The Other Half Celebrity Special Bank Holiday Monday, 5:20 on BBC One.
Tonight on David Copperfield.
Safety is in my hands.
Fate is unpredictable.
I'm going to be married. Only the lady in question doesn't know it yet.
Love is uncertain.
My daughter's not to be thrown away on a clock.
And destiny can turn on a single chance encounter.
Little Copperfield, I'm overjoyed to see you. You wouldn't wish to make unpleasantness.
It's an evil hour he ever brought you to this house.
Who knows what the consequences might be.
David Copperfield continues tonight at 6:25 on BBC One.
The Boxing Day BBC News now on BBC One with Hugh Edwards.
Another hostage is released by the hijackers in Afghanistan. 2 days on, there are still 160 hostages held on the plane. After all the bad weather of recent days, the Clearup has started in many parts. Butchers out for 48 as England make modest progress in the third test against South Africa. Good afternoon. Another passenger has been freed by the hijackers of the Indian Airlines plane in Afghanistan. 160 people are still being held. The hijackers are demanding the release of some Kashmiri separatists from jail in India. The plane is at Kandahar airport in southern Afghanistan. It was hijacked after it left Kathmandu on Friday. Those hostages freed yesterday morning have now returned to New Delhi, from where Daniel Lark sent us this report.
An ordeal over for some, but even more intense for those still held captive. The people released from the aircraft in Dubai earlier in the crisis are now back with loved ones in Delhi. They've given all the information they can to officials here. One man, wounded by the hijackers, has seen his doctor and is in no danger. India is doing what it can, backing the UN efforts, but saying that no one is authorized to negotiate. Senior ministers have been meeting. Opposition leaders are also being briefed. The entire country is following developments, and sympathy for the people on board the plane in Kandahar is intense.
The United Nations is not playing a mediatory, intermediary, or a negotiatory role. We would be engaging with the United Nations from the human rights angle, and I will be in a position to share more with you subsequently.
This is the third day of the ordeal for the 160 passengers and crew. These are the last pictures of the plane in Dubai more than a day ago. It's currently on the ground in a country whose rulers consider pictures of people or living things un-Islamic. India says it's examining the demands of the hijackers, but it's committed to standing firm against terrorism. It's hard to imagine a more difficult or troubling situation. Daniel Lack, BBC News, Delhi.
There's been fierce fighting between Russian soldiers and Chechen rebels in Grozny, the Chechen capital. The Russians say they now control all the outlying districts of the city. They're trying to get the breakaway republic back under Moscow's control. Grozny is the last stronghold of the Islamic separatists. This report from the Chechen frontier is by our correspondent, Jonathan Charles.
The Russian offensive is gaining ground. Troops are pressing on to the very heart of Grozny. Now into its second day, the all-out attack has resulted in some fierce clashes with the Chechen Islamic rebels who are demanding independence. Russian artillery provides covering fire for the soldiers as they move in. Once more, buildings in the city centre are being shelled. but the clashes have brought fresh international concern about the fate of as many as 40,000 civilians who are trapped in Grozny because of the fighting. Many of the civilians are elderly. They've spent the past 2 months hiding in cellars to avoid artillery barrages. But now there's the additional risk of being injured as the army and the rebels battle it out directly in front of their houses. A senior Russian government minister and a representative of the Chechen government have held talks to see what can be done, but so far they've failed to produce a plan of action. Any evacuation would require a ceasefire, and that's highly unlikely. The Chechen rebels are outnumbered by the Russians, but they say they'll defend the besieged city to the last man. Even if they can't beat off the assault, they intend to inflict heavy casualties on an army which they regard as being beneath contempt. Jonathan Charles, BBC News, on the Chechen border.
There's a red alert on many rivers in central and southern England after 2 days of severe weather. Many families and businesses have now started clearing up their properties. A power failure has also led to some serious disruption on the London Underground.
In the village of North Taunton, people are drying out for the second time in a week. Overnight flooding left several homes and the local pub under a couple of feet of water.
The carpet now, because the last week, is all gone. So this is just basically washing all the floor again. As long as the bar's clean, that's the major thing, and we'll go open for business again as usual at 12 o'clock.
The fire brigade has now pumped out the water, but with rain still falling, defences are being improvised to try to prevent a third soaking. It's all taken the village by surprise. Until recently, there's been little flooding here.
They've gone for years and years and not had a problem. We seem to be having very wet winters at the moment, and that seems to be causing the problem.
In Taunton today, the level of the River Tone showed the effect of days of heavy rain. Across the country, many waterways are now at or near danger level, with farmland flooded and some roads barely passable. Storms have also disrupted power supplies in many areas, but most people have now been reconnected. At Selsey and other places along the Sussex coast, breaches in the sea defences have meant a continued state of alert and anxiety for local people. The weather forecast is not encouraging. Strong winds and more heavy rain is expected in Wales and the West Country. Peter Gould, BBC News.
And winds over 100 miles an hour have torn across northern France, killing at least 5 people. Nearly 1 million homes there are reported to have been damaged or suffered power blackouts. 2 airports in Paris have been closed, and rail services in France have been badly affected. Korean Airlines, which owned the plane that crashed near Stansted Airport on Wednesday, is to take on 17 new aircraft. The new planes will be a mix of Airbus and Boeing and will bring the average age of the Korean fleet down to under 7 years. The cargo plane which crashed at Stansted was at least 10 years old. Now, the Hubble Space Telescope is back in orbit thanks to the astronauts on the American space shuttle Discovery. They made 3 spacewalks to repair the telescope, which had been out of action for 6 weeks. Discovery is expected to return to Earth tomorrow.
Time to return Hubble to the heavens.
The Hubble telescope's unique eye on the universe closed in November after a series of breakdowns. 370 miles above the Earth, the astronauts on board the shuttle made 3 spacewalks to fix it. British-born astronaut Michael Foale was among those who replaced the telescope's broken and outdated instruments. Their work complete, the team had one final task: to unlock the clamps and let Hubble go.
Today we're going to set her free.
They used the shuttle's robot arm to lift the 4-story tall telescope from the cargo bay. It had been a rushed job. The mission was cut from 10 to 8 days and the 4th spacewalk scrapped so the Discovery could get back before New Year's Eve and avoid any potential Millennium Bug computer problems. There was little time to celebrate a successful job, but a surprise visitor in the crew cabin provided a spot of much-needed Christmas cheer. Linda Duffin, BBC News.
Now, relations with France might be a little cool these days thanks to the beef war, but it still hasn't stopped a small French invasion of the town of Ashford in Kent. French companies, fed up with bureaucracy at home, are taking advantage of employment law this side of the Channel Tunnel. Ashford, of course, is the first stop for many Eurostar trains entering the UK. Some local people, however, have deep misgivings.
It began as an experiment 2 years ago. Now the French market's become a regular fixture in Ashford. Not even anger over the ban on British beef has stopped shoppers stocking up with French food. The trade is carefully regulated.
so no French produce clashes with that sold by English storeholders. But for those traders who cross the channel, the trip is well worth it.
The markets in England are generally good, and our presence here generates more business for us back home. People who get to know us here also come to our shop when they visit France.
This market is just a visible tip of a much bigger invasion by the French. Dozens of French companies have been setting up in the area, attracted not just by the ease of travel, but by what they see as a more business-friendly climate on this side of the channel. This firm exports health products to other parts of Europe. It came to Ashford a year ago as a small operation, but now has a large warehouse and an expanded workforce. Here, English and French work side by side. The owner moved here to escape France's 35-hour working week, as well as higher taxes and bureaucracy.
In France, it's impossible. If you don't have a lot of money, there's no way you can start a business. You have to have, plus it takes a lot of paperwork and a lot of time. Here, one day you can create a company. Over there, it's like 3 months and a lot of paperwork. And so I can see it's impossible for people that have a bit of ambition, that are young, not a lot of money to do it there. Here, it's very easy to do.
What was once a sleepy market town is taking on a brave new face. This designer shopping arcade, one of many new developments in the area. In France, Ashford is promoted as the new El Dorado for French business.
It's seen as being good for the borough, good for the town, expansion, more employment, and the people in the area are now well used to popping over to France because of the tunnel, because of the ferries 20 miles down the road, so that the barriers are being ripped down, if you like.
The Channel Tunnel rail link now being built will only strengthen business ties with France. But some already question how far Ashford can develop. Housing projections suggest the town could triple in size over the next 20 years. It's a future not everyone is happy to contemplate. John Andrew, BBC News, Ashford in Kent.
Michael Atherton was out for just one, but that hasn't stopped England from making a fairly decent start to the third test against South Africa. Mark Butcher made 48, and at tea, England were 98 for 2.
This could well prove to be the pivotal match of the series, and with England deciding to bat first, Mark Butcher needed a healthy slice of luck in Alan Donald's first over when Paul Adams failed to hold on to a difficult chance. But with the score on 7, Michael Atherton fell to the exceptional pace of Nancy Hayward, the 4th time in these test matches that the former England captain has been bowled. Nasser Hussain, having won the toss for his side, decided to attack at the outset and soon struck his first 4. Butcher, without a half-century in his last 19 test innings, eventually got going himself, but the scoring rate remained well under 2 and over. Then, just 2 runs short of his 50, a spectacular diving catch by Lance Klusener accounted for Butcher after he miscued a shot of Adams. Darren Maddy, in for the injured Michael Vaughan, was fortunate to survive when Darrell Cullinan dropped a chance at slip as England approached 100 for 2 at tea. Paul Newman, BBC News.
And the main news again, another hostage has been released by the hijackers in Afghanistan of the Indian Airlines plane, but 160 more people are still being held. That's it for now. I'll be back with more news at 5:10, but enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.
Good afternoon. There's still a chance you could see a white Christmas with gusty winds, racing rain, hail, sleet and snow showers across the UK this afternoon. Now, most of the snow is going to be over higher ground, and probably the worst affected areas are likely to be the higher parts of Wales, Northern England, Northern Ireland and Scotland, so some problems for travellers using the high-level routes there. You can see how quickly the echoes are moving on the radar, indicating the strength of the wind, and a real batch of bright echoes now coming into southwestern parts of Britain. And that wet weather is going to race across southern areas through the afternoon. Now, that's going to heighten the flood risk that you heard about on the news. A lot of rivers on red alert or flood alert, particularly in southern England and South Wales. If you are concerned, then ring the Environment Agency. Their floodline number is 0845 988 1188. That's 0845 988 1188. There will be a bit of brightness in between the showers, but it's going to feel cold wherever you are. Tonight, most of the showers will die back to western coasts and hills. There'll be a widespread frost, so watch out for some ice with all the showers around during today. And then for Monday, more of those wintry showers to come. That's the forecast. Bye for now.
Keep up to date with the latest news by going to BBC Online at www.bbc.co.uk/news.
I'm smart, you're dumb.
I'm big and you're small.
I'm right, you're wrong.
And there's
nothing you can do about it. Was it magic or coincidence? She didn't know.
The network premiere of Matilda, today at 2:45 on BBC One.
This is your mission, should you choose to accept it.
We're being ambushed aboard. That's an order.
They knew we were coming. Do you read me?
I want to know why he did it. These guys are trained to be ghosts. Find something that's personally important to him and you squeeze.
Tom Cruise.
I can understand you're very upset. You've never seen me very upset.
Mission Impossible, tonight at 9 on BBC One.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
The first of a two-part EastEnders Omnibus now on BBC One. Christmas in Albert Square.
There's a good lad. We'll go in the garden in a minute. Come on. Let's just leave them there. I can manage. Thank you. Oh, come on.
Oh, thank you.
Come on then. Take this. There we go. Right. Come on. Come on.
Sorry. Natalie! Natalie! Nat! Wait! Nat! Come on, talk to me.
I've got nothing to say to you.
Natalie! Natalie!